right, we're back live with Viewpoint this morning. Mrs. Busby and the old geezer having our guest this morning, Miss Jennifer DiPasquale, very noted dietitian at our hospital, does a great job for her clients. And one of the things I'd like to discuss real quickly, Jennifer, the matter of surgical remedies for folks who have had significant weight problems. I'm sure there are pluses and minuses on that.
Very much. They aren't doing, the original, or I wouldn't say the original, but the most popular weight loss surgery for a long time, which was a type of bypass surgery, is not being done so much anymore because they've found less risky ways to achieve the same results. A lot of people now have lap band. The newest one that they're looking at is gastric sleeve only.
And specifically, what does that do, Mrs. DiPasquale?
Lap band, that is where a large portion of the stomach is literally
reduced.
Yeah, sectioned off with a band. A huge rubber band is what you can look at it like. So it doesn't remove any specific part of the GI tract, which I like that idea. Whereas a lot of the gastric surgeries will actually have a different route. It removes part of the stomach and intestine for the passage of food. It just cuts them off, and then you have a new...
Are you all enjoying your breakfast out there this morning?
Yeah.
Have a good breakfast on us. So seriously, for some folks, this is really a terrible health problem. And then the other side of it is, concomitant with that, is we have an economic problem, because me and thee, and little fellow over here, Mr. Ash, we're taking care of a lot of those folks because they're on the dole.
Yeah. You pointed me down that road, didn't you?
Well, fair and unbalanced.
Well, there are definitely a myriad of health problems that can come from overweight and obesity. It certainly can help progress other conditions that someone might have already had, and definitely puts a huge burden on the society for having to fit the bill. But I think one of the biggest problems that we have as a society is that we have really lost track of respecting for our food. We don't have any respect for food. We have become so spoiled and have everything accessible to us at any time, and 5 billion varieties of, Pop-Tarts. I don't care for Pop-Tarts much, but it could take you 15 minutes to pick out what kind of Pop-Tarts you want when it's something that is not necessary at all. No one needs that. We have so much choice and such an overabundance that we have completely lost respect for food. We inhale it. We don't even take our time to chew it and get the nutrients. I think that is really a root problem of the obesity and overweight epidemic, is that people just don't respect their food.
You mentioned Pop-Tarts. That's kind of like kid food, I always think.
I'm sure some adults eat them.
And let's talk about children. It's hard enough to try to discipline yourself that I really don't need ice cream, But what do you do for a poor child that is having a problem? That's got to be heartbreaking for the kid and the parents.
And that's a real sticky situation too. I was very heavy as a child, and I know a lot of families, including my own, where it's a struggle to get family members to eat healthier food choices at times. But the only thing that you can do to help guide your children is to provide an example by exercising regularly, encouraging them to exercise, having healthy foods available, encouraging them to eat them, right? Encouraging them to make healthy choices. I don't personally believe in not allowing access to foods that are not healthy, because it's
restate that. I think I've got something mixed up in my head.
Like, you're going to find chips in my house.
Yeah.
And occasionally when my husband goes to the store, you might even find some zingers or something like that. I don't believe that it's a good choice to keep those out of the house, because then you have the possibility of, again, it's behavior. You know, all of our eating choices are behavior based. If you teach somebody that, no, we don't have that in the house, that's bad food. Well, some people are going to be like, all right, well then that's bad food, so I'm not going to eat it. And other people are going to be like, that's bad food, I'm going to get a hold of it as soon as I can and scarf it down. You know, it's a balance between allowing people to make their own choices, encouraging them to make healthy choices, because you cannot be in control of everything that your child eats, every situation that they're going to be in, and most importantly, limiting the portion size of the food that they eat. You know, that promotes disordered eating.
Yeah.
It truly
There's another
does.
factor involved there too, folks, and that is, quote, family lifestyle. So many of our families do not have both parents, and or both parents are out of the house working because of economic circumstances dictate that. So we don't have anybody, as a consequence, when Mary and Johnny get up to go to school, of course, happily, a lot of folks can eat at school. That's a good thing. I don't mind that money, I'll tell you that. But the point being that they don't have the guidance when they sit down to the table. And unfortunately, there's not much sitting down at the table in a lot of homes.
Yes.
That's an issue.
That's the unfortunate truth. That's a sad thing.
The good news is that a lot of the assistance programs have really, with the way that they have changed the programs, there are more dollars available for fresh fruits and vegetables and healthier foods in general, looking at, allowing cereals that have less sugar, doing whole grain products, lean foods. So that is a benefit, because it's, in essence, if you choose the foods that are healthier for you, you're going to get more food. And I think that it should be based that way.
Bill asked you about surgical procedures.
Yes.
And I'd
Do you
like
know my
to,
opinion on that, Judy?
Yes, yeah, you can do that. And then I'd like to move on into diet pills. Just very recently in the news, there was the introduction of a new diet pill that's supposed to not make you crazy, so that you're cleaning your sewing box at 2 in the morning or something.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of refreshing to go with that from Viagra to something a little more substantive.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk a little bit about those things, please, and thank you.
Well, with the different types of weight loss surgery, I know that for some people they're very effective. But even with the required nutritional counseling and mental health counseling that is required by most insurances to be able to get cleared to get that kind of surgery, the life afterwards, you think that being on a diet is restricted eating? Oh no. Having had weight loss surgery and then trying to learn to eat again appropriately, that's restricted eating. It is really, really difficult. I praise people who have gone through the surgery and done well with it and truly changed the way that they eat and change their lifestyle. But I tell you what, I am not a big fan of choosing the weight loss surgery over trying to do it through a slow, healthy lifestyle change. Because if you couldn't do it before, if you couldn't monitor your portion intake before and not go through the drive-through 4 times in a day, then what makes you think that all of a sudden you've got this small stomach that's going to flip the switch and change overnight? It's behavior.
It's a
It's
mindset.
learned behavior. And there's been lots of people who have had the surgeries who have not been successful because their mindset, the way that they make choices about food did not change.
Does that come under addictiveness?
I really think so.
A form
and,
of?
There's lots of studies that, and I can't quote you the names of the studies, but they show that for people who are overweight or obese, stimulus to food response can be similar to stimulus in the brain of cocaine for cocaine addicts. I mean, it's a chemical response for a lot of people.
Worse than just a habit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
You wanted to mention the Belviq. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
The
that
who?
new drug, the new weight loss drug.
Yeah, please and thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's pronounced Belviq, B-E-L-V-I-Q. That was recently approved by the FDA, and it's supposedly for people with chronic weight problems who also have weight-related health problems like diabetes or hypertension, and it's supposed to help promote weight loss. Before everybody gets lined up, though, it's supposed to promote about 5% body weight loss, okay? And this is what the study showed, about 5% body weight loss for taking Belviq, whereas only 25% of people taking the placebo had that same weight loss. So there's not a huge amount of evidence. I mean, it works, but it's not huge. And for, like, if you had someone who was 300 pounds, 5% weight loss means 15 pounds. So if you're supposed to take this drug in addition with balanced diet and exercise, I don't know that I would be willing to put a drug in my system for that small amount of weight loss. You know, it doesn't sound like it would be really worth it to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. 5%, that's kind of a low amount. Also, you hear that we folks develop these fat cells, and that they're there lurking in the dark forever and ever, and we can lose weight, but those dudes are just waiting to puff up again. Is there anything to that?
That's absolutely true, Judy. Once you have a fat cell, it's there unless it's been surgically removed. You can shrink your fat cells. You can shrink them down to very, very small capacity. But once they're there, they're always going to be ready and willing to puff right back up for you again if you have that calorie intake that promotes it. And although I'm not making an excuse for people who have had, you know, the yo-yo dieting, weight loss, gain, but for people who have lost a bunch of weight, it is more difficult to keep that weight off because you just need less calories. Like for the people who have been successful with weight loss surgery, we'll see people who used to weigh 400 pounds and they're 5 foot 8 inches tall and they get plenty of exercise and they only need 900, 1,200 calories to maintain their weight because they were in a restricted calorie intake for so long that their metabolic rate or their rate of burning calories has just turned down.
Oh gosh.
Jennifer,
Yeah,
what
real
is the
small
correlation
calories.
with, if that's the correct word, folks who give up smoking and suddenly we have a weight increase, maybe not, but gradually, some more quickly than others. What causes that?
Well, I'm aware that smoking does have a slight metabolic effect as far as burning calories, but I'm not aware of exactly how much or if there's been a study which has actually proven it. But usually, if someone has an oral fixation, okay, whether that be smoking a cigarette or chewing gum or overeating or constantly having to have a soda or crunching ice, whatever that is, it's a behavior. And if you have a behavior and you're unable to change that mental link between your behavior and replacing it with something which is a healthy habit, then you're more likely to go from smoking to eating food or drinking a beverage or chewing. Some people you see who used to smoke are avid gum chewers, right? It's a displacement.
Or
not that it's a bad one. Chewing gum is certainly better for you than smoking.
Well, I guess that's true. How you mentioned getting rid of the fat cells. How about liposuction? Sounds like a Chinese torture to me, but
you know what? Just over the past 2 weeks, and I can't cite the study because I don't have it with me, but I was reading in a journal where they have had enough people who have had liposuction now over the years that they have data gathered to be able to show, cause and effect from that. And for people who have had liposuction removed, if they're not able to maintain their weight, then that body fat comes back. But guess what? It doesn't come back as the external, more healthy fat. It comes back as the organ layer of fat. That organ layer of fat, which is really dangerous, is where the fat comes back and increases.
So, in fact, that could be
Worse.
and probably is deleterious to your health.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
no
if you
question.
can't maintain that weight after you had liposuction, it looks like, even though your weight might not go up as much, that fat that does come back is not going to be in a good place for your body. So there's a rhyme and reason. You know, God made us the way we are. You know, I might not like the fact that I've got hips, but if I got the hips sucked out, it might come back in a worse place.
Amazing.
Well, your final question, my dear?
You know, you were talking about the body mass index. Now, they used to say, but, as a big boned girl, you know, so that therefore, it's not, that from the fraternities, boys, do you remember? She's a big boned girl, but nice personality, right? Okay.
I'm going to keep it down.
Huh?
I'm going to swallow it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Smart man.
Well, does that make a difference?
It really does, and that's why even though BMI is the standard that the government likes to use, because it's easy to use. You know, you don't have to figure out individually for each person. You just put the height and weight on a graph, and boom, there you got it, right? Even though that's the standard that's being used by the government, it does have some drawbacks. You know, body mass index. You can have someone who is 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighs 180 pounds, and they could be flabby and doing exercise, or they could be very trim and have a lot of muscle weight. And that BMI is not going to differentiate between them. It's just a generic graph. You know, it should be individualized for each person if they feel like they need to lose weight or gain weight. You're looking at other factors.
Well, Jennifer DiPasquale, we appreciate very much your coming up with us this morning. Nice to go to
My
ride in the
pleasure.
country, come up here, sharing your expertise with us. It's really it's a serious matter. You know, I don't know what's the greater problem for the country, obesity or global warming, for goodness sakes.
Maybe it'll melt our fat off.
Yeah, well, that might, there you go. Here's a good point. Well, we always try to close with some sort of a quote we've picked up here and there. And one I found out says the best thing for a person on a diet to eat is less. Thank you for Viewpoint.